Hello, everybody. Hello, future bestsellers. I said go and it didn't go live. And so we're all like wavy, wavy, wavy. Yeah. So, anyway, hello, everyone. How are you? I hope that you are well. We are back after a couple of weeks off. I had a trip out of town, and then last week I was just sick as a dog. So I was pretty much sick all week last week. And like on one hand it sucks to be sick, and on the other hand like it was kind of good in the sense that I'd had like a really crazy week before, and so it was like this like your body just is like, too bad, it's time to rest, suck it up. And even though it really sucked to be like not feeling great for a week, I felt like now that I feel better, I feel like so much better. So that was really good. So what have you guys been up to? What are you working on?
I'm basically I'm working on client work, and that's kind of what kept me busy over the past couple of weeks. I'm about 3/4 of the way through with it. I started a new drawing. I've kept myself busy doing the same things and just thinking about what I'm going to do over the winter, because the end of this month I'm going to take my annual social media break and come back in spring, and lining up things and projects to do and things I want to get back in line with, like my YouTube channel.
Yeah, good for you. I know I have had like so many stuff, like just things have happened this year that I have accomplished very little of my annual goals list, which is uncommon. I typically, at least, I mean, even if I'm super aggressive as far as my goals, that like I have a lot of stretch goals, even with that I typically do get quite a lot accomplished, and I just didn't get as much accomplished this year as I normally would. So I have just decided that 2024 didn't count, and I'm just giving myself a bigger ramp up for 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did get some things accomplished, and I have a couple of things, but yeah. So how about you, Michelle? You keep kind of freezing. So
Did you freeze?
yeah, just a little bit. I don't know. Is it just me, or you seen it too,
No,
Robert?
I've seen her freeze a couple of times as well. I think
Yeah.
she's freezing right now.
She might be frozen right now. Michelle, there you go. You had this look like me frozen. No. While being frozen, but at least you look very lovely.
I might have a really bad issue.
It might be. Do you want to retry, or maybe try it with like just with your avatar? That might help if you only have to do sound.
What are you working on today?
Yeah. Ooh. All right. She's gonna figure that out. I can't hear you, and you're frozen. So let's go ahead and say hi to our friends, and while Michelle figures that out, hopefully that will work. All right. So there's Michelle. All right. Let me ditch out this Michelle. Kick from studio. Oh, wait, hold on. I just want to. There we go. All right. Hello.
All kinds of stuff happening.
I know. I was like, uh-oh, how am I going to do this? I've got two Michelles. I know there's a reason. I know there's like a way to do that. So tell us what you're working on today, and then we're going to say hi to our friends in the chat.
So I actually turned in my middle grade a couple weeks ago, or last week. Hooray.
Yay.
So I've decided I need something fun to work on, and I've really dropped the ball this year as far as like I keep starting and stopping projects, and there's all these different things I keep saying I'm going to do, and I really like all of them, but they're all kind of heavy, and I need to write something light and fun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to I have started working on kind of like I wouldn't quite call it a cozy mystery, but like a funny mystery thriller, like in the like Finlay Donovan is killing it, and Dial Randy, and Killers of a Certain Age, which I'm almost done with, and it's so fun.
I have heard that is excellent. I love Finlay Donovan.
Yes.
I thought that was like such a great book. I just love. There were a couple that sort of came out around the same time.
Yeah.
That had that kind of fun vibe.
I want it to be a new genre. Like,
yes, me too.
Fun, funny thrillers a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for sure. And that's such a talent to be able to do that. But you are both funny and mysterious. So I think you can totally pull it off. I think you can totally pull it off. All right, let's say hi to our friends in the chat. Hello, Christy. We are super, super glad to see you today. Very nice. Oh, I love this. eCar eBooks. What a great name. I love that. Good morning. We are so happy to see you, Arizona. That's great. Fantastic. We're very happy to see you. 1,000 great books. Yay. We're online at the same time. Yay. So glad about that. All right. So what are you guys working on today? Let us know in the chat if you have not already. Christy is working on drafting book 3 of my Neil Ames PI mystery thriller series. The Wind is Blowing in the Islands of Washington State. Very, very nice. Love that. Hello. I just saw Mary's post and I was happy laughing. Yeah. Good morning, Leslie. Good morning from Powder Springs, Georgia. Where is that in Georgia? I feel like I recently drove through there and I'm not sure why, because I did recently drive through Georgia, but or through part of Georgia. So dying to know. All right. Hi from jury duty. Hello, Mary. All right. I think that is hilarious that you are with us from jury duty. But you know what? Jury duty can be boring while you're sitting around waiting. So I'm very glad that you're hanging out with us today. And Mary is working on the dad duty book. Very, very nice. Love that. Love that. Robert, what did you say you were working on today?
I've got some client work that I'm going to be working on. So making my notes, do a little reading. That's my plan.
Very nice. I am working on some marketing tasks today because I have been neglecting them. And so I'm like, okay, this is the day I get some stuff done. I got to write some newsletters and get some stuff out like this. All right. Leslie says 20 miles northeast of Atlanta. I know where Atlanta is and I have so it's funny. I have my really good friend, Lisa Earl McLeod, used to live in Snellville, which is a suburb of Atlanta. And now she lives on Lake Oconee in this insanely beautiful lake house that has massive windows and a long view of the lake. And I would like to be buried in her backyard. I think it's so pretty. 20 miles northeast of Atlanta means you're approximately 9 hours from the airport. All right. So 1,000 Great Books is doing a little office work, reading some short stories in between. Going to end with a few pages of editing. Very nice. Very, very nice. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get our first sprint out of the way. We are going to do a 5-minute warm-up sprint. Let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, here we go. So for our first sprint, we're just going to get our documents open, figure out what we're going to work on, get your giant vat of caffeine or water or whatever it is that you're drinking today. Booze, I guess, a little early. It's 11 o'clock, but whatever. We're not judging. You can be drinking mimosas. And let's get going and do some writing. All right, here we go, everybody. We're going to put 5 minutes on the clock for the first sprint. We'll do 20s after that. So here we go. Starting in 3, 2, All right, we are back. How did everybody do on that warm-up sprint?
Good.
All right, fantastic. Heather's here. Hello, Heather. We are super, super glad to see you today. So I have had my head in the sand as far as writing, writing world, but I did get a couple of questions just over email from folks who would watch videos or download stuff. So we'll hit those when we blah blah blah. We'll hit those when we come back from our first writing break. One of the questions I get like all the time is how to format a manuscript. And so I want to talk about that when we get back because it's pretty simple, but it feels overwhelming and confusing. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Look who else is. Oh, Maz is here. Hello. We are super, super glad to see you. Cool Gamer's here. Hello. Glad to see you, Cool Gamer. Glad everybody's here today. Okay. So I'm ready to write. I started already on the 5-minute warm up. Are you guys ready? Let's get our first.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's get our first sprint done. I'm on it. Wait, this is the wrong one. Hello, timer. Where'd you go? Hold on. Sometimes StreamYard does this weird thing where you cannot find, there it is. You can't find the screen that you're looking for. It could be because, just spitballing here, it could be because I have 7,000 windows open. But I'm going to blame that on StreamYard. Okay, so all right, everybody. So we are going to start with our very first 20-minute sprint. We'll be writing for 20 minutes. Like the wind. And then we'll come back and have a little chit chat about formatting manuscripts and things like that. Okay. All right, everybody. Here we go. Starting in 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. We are back. Very, very nice. Hold on, I've got still got our thing. I'm like, why do I still hear the ocean going a million miles an hour? Just because it was still in my head. All right. So, hello. Look who just realized it was Wednesday.
Hey.
Hi, Lainey. We are super glad to see you today. Chris has got a great question. Was thinking about changing the cover of my short Christmas story. It's not selling right now. Can't decide between illustrated with the couple or real hot guy on the cover. So, so a lot of authors that I know are doing like Smutty Bare Chest Guy for like the ebook, but then they'll do like sort of more like upmarket women's fiction look for the paperback covers, so you can read it on the train without getting leered at by creepers. So, right. So that's a really good question. But what I would do, since it's a Christmas story, and Christmas stories are probably starting to sell right about now. Anybody else who's written a Christmas story, feel free to chime in. But I would go on Amazon and look at the top 100 Christmas stories in your genre. So top 100 Christmas romance, and see what the cover expectation is.
Yeah.
Because, right? So even the first 25 of them are all illustrated covers, and the ones with man chest are in the dregs, then you know what to do, vice versa. Or if you go, oh well, there's a nice mix here of like illustrated covers. I will say I get pitched a ton of romances, and in particular Christmas romances, from all the big five publishers, because I have the While You Were Reading podcast, which is contemporary romance. And what I have primarily seen for books coming out from the big five are illustrated covers. So I hope that's helpful. But I feel like on the next sprint, you should go over and look on Amazon, or maybe you're doing that right this very minute, and see. I would love to know the answer of what's doing well right now. So, all right. So, illustrated or real hot guy on the cover. We like, there's something about like, I feel like I don't know. I can make all kinds of smutty Christmas jokes right now, and I'm just going to pass on that and go to the next thing. Hi, Michelle. Hello, Regina.
Hi, Regina.
Everybody's super happy to see you. Nicole Ford Thomas says happy time zones, writer friends, working on implementing editor's notes, chapter 1 of a novel. Good for you. Fantastic. Avi's here. Yay. I missed you, Avi. I'm very, very glad to see you. Very, very glad to see you. Regina says, hello, Rob. Wow, I'm like chopped liver today. All right. I love you, Regina. Anyway, so there was that. So I'm really curious about what is going to be selling. Would you guys want to take a little? Does anybody want to make a wager before they look and see?
I was wishing that StreamYard had like a polling feature so you could get a quick poll and.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. Okay, well, we can all still vote in the chat, right?
Yeah.
So everybody vote in the chat, whether you think illustrated cover or man chest. Those are our two options.
Okay. I personally would prefer illustrated cover, but I'm gonna have to go with Manchester.
All right.
There's too many of the character books out there to not go with that.
All right, we want to see your official vote in the chat. I'm going to go with illustrated. That's just me. Stacy says illustrated. Obviously, Michelle says man chest. I'm saying illustrated. I want no cheating, you guys. Let's vote first, and then over the next sprint, we'll go look and see what the deal is. Manchester versus. Oh, okay. So Robert says Manchester, but you'd prefer illustrated. So this is an interesting thing, right? Because a lot of times people pick something because they think other people will like it, but they don't like it. Regina says romance cover, Manchester. All right. Let's see. The men are making a retail comeback, according to Lainey. Okay. Very nice. Oh, very good. Avi
Lean
wants
on
to
the
know if
cover.
you got her Substack submission. Yes.
I have not looked yet, but
Okay, there we go.
I will be on the lookout for it.
Okay, fantastic. Avi says Manchester, just so I can say Manchester. Leslie says the last 2 books I read had Manchester. Maybe the Pecks are making a comeback. We went away from that, and now maybe we're coming back. And like I said, a lot of authors, romance authors in particular, obviously, science fiction has less Manchester, I think. But a lot of romance authors were sort of trying to like split the difference and have, you've got illustrated covers over here and Manchester over here. Illustrated, says Nicole. Very nice. I do have a question about our Chris, about your cover. Is your Christmas story steamy or is it sweet? Because I think that has an impact too. If it's a sweet romance, if it's closed door, or just a little hand holding, making out by the fire. If it's that, then I think that has an impact too, because if you put Manchester on there, people are going to expect a little spice. Okay. All right. Keep going, everybody. Let's see. Regina says, my vampire series had illustrated covers that I adored, but didn't start selling until I put the broody males on the cover. I feel like we want that, right? With our vampire books, that we want our, he's controlling all of his primal urges just to be with you kind of guy. Alyssa's got a nice compromise for us, illustrated Manchester. I don't know if that's going to have our same thing, but I'm very curious about whether or not how that goes. So, all right, anybody else have a vote on that? Drop it in the chat. We will have our official reveal of Manchester Illustrated when we come back from our next sprint.
I would also say, since it's Christmas, is there a fantasy element? Because a lot of holiday stories can have that as well. And
that's true. That's true. A little magical element, a little magic of Christmas element.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I do. What's so funny is I have, it's on my like bucket list. I would like to write a Christmas romance or even a Christmas romance series. And, because I love those Hallmark movies, as flawed as they are, as terrible as they are. I love them. My daughter loves them, and we are like insanely excited to spend Thanksgiving this year because my son's going to be out of town, right? And so, and the Horror Geek will be watching football.
Are you going to watch that new one on Netflix about the snowman that comes to life?
I think it's called like Hot Frosty or something.
I haven't seen it.
It's on the list. Yeah, it's funny because I have a client and friend named Maggie Marr who wrote a book called. She's a Hollywood agent. She worked at William Morris for a long time. She's also an entertainment lawyer, and she's got kind of her own thing. And she's sold a number of books of friends of mine and a number of those Christmas romances, which last year, I don't know if you guys remember, there was like one with Brooke Shields and a castle. That was one of her projects. So, which was really funny because I interviewed an author after that, whose name is escaping me, on the podcast, who lives in the castle that they used, which is kind of, I know, right? Can you imagine romance author living in his cottage castle? Like how perfect. Yeah, exactly. So I could do that. Except all the castles I feel like are in cold places. I need like a Caribbean castle. If that could, if someone could, the universe could make that happen, please. I would like a Caribbean castle. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I think there's something really interesting about that whole thing. But what she told me last year or a year and a half ago when we were working on her book was that every major like streamer like HBO and Netflix and Amazon Prime, that they all have like a kill Hallmark department because they just own Christmas for such a long time. And now all these other, other channels or other streaming services are wanting to get in on the action. So there you go. All right. So Avi says, first a toy soldier comes to life now, snowman. Yeah. All right. Chris says, right now, the cover is a woman only showing her legs. It's a very steamy novella. Okay. All right. All right. Castle for Christmas. Yes, that was the one. That was the one. Oh, I forgot that. What is his name? The guy who was Wesley from The Princess Bride. I could totally picture him.
Carrie Yules.
Yes. I always loved him. He was
Yeah.
on the kids and I watched Psych for years. Like we found it as
Oh, I love
reruns.
Psych.
I know, right? And he played like an art thief and that, and I was like, oh, I have such good memories of him. I think it's from Princess Bride, and he was in some other fun stuff, back in the
He
day.
was in that Jim Carrey movie, Liar Liar.
Yes,
Which
I love.
still holds up, by the way. That movie is still funny.
It is. I know it's kind of fun. We were just talking about Jim Carrey the other day about how he sort of just was like, okay, I have as much money as I need and I'm just all done. And
Yep.
it's always delightful to kind of see him come back from like to do projects. He did that one with Steve Carell, the magic one.
Oh,
Burt Wonderstone.
I didn't see that.
Oh my gosh. So it's Steve Carell and Steve Buscemi, and they are like best friends from elementary school, and they're magicians in Las Vegas. And Steve Carell sort of gets in his head that he's like really the star of the show, but he's really just kind of going through the motions. And I think Olivia Wilde is in it. She's like the upstart magician, and Jim Carrey plays that like Chris Angel character where he's like, drilling through his own head or pulling weird stuff out of his body or levitating on the street and just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. It was a very fun movie. It's like a good like family fun movie.
That is some fun.
Love that. Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
Get in my head how everything comes alive at Christmas and how that's actually kind of creepy. I can actually see a story where everybody gets sucked into the romance and these little impish Christmas demons make these things come alive and say, "Oh, it's a romance." Surprise! It's really not.
Surprise, it's really not. You're gonna tick off a lot of romance readers that way. But there are like Christmas horror stories. I can't remember. Krampus. Is it Krampus?
Yeah, there was a Krampus movie.
Yeah. So that's like a thing, like a Christmas demon or something. I had obviously the horror geek fills me in on these important details of life because otherwise I would never know. All right.
There's a lot of child stealing Krampus entities out there in different cultures for Christmas. I was watching a video on that not too long ago. There's some things out there.
Yeah, for sure. So he also did the Saw franchise, so he can do it all apparently.
I know trips me out every time I remember that.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of. I love him the most, I think, when he's doing comedy because he has such great timing. Like he has such great comedic timing.
So good.
All right, Krampusnacht. So is that like Krampus Night in German? Is what that looks like to me, but I don't really know. So that would be my guess. All right. If you know any more, Nicole, please let us know. All right, let's go ahead and do another 20-minute sprint. So I can go head on over to Amazon and see what the man chest situation is over on the Christmas covers and report back to everybody. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the thing that I said that we were going to talk about, which is how to format a manuscript if you're looking to take your book out and try and get it published with a traditional publisher. Chris says, "Love Psych. It's one of my favorite shows." I know, me too. So do you guys remember Lassiter on Psych?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he is one of my Timothy. I always get him confused with Oliphant, but he's the other one. Timothy.
Yeah, no, but it's
Omenson.
Yeah.
So I met him on Daytime. Actually, weirdly enough, if you know him at all, he had a stroke. And I actually met him on the day he had his stroke. I met him that morning. Yeah. And he was one of the nicest people. I mean, I met a million celebrities on that show, but he was one of the nicest people I'd ever met. And we talked about my favorite project of his, which is Gallivant, which was like a 4 or 6 episode series that like ABC ran in the summer. It was brilliant, and I think they canceled after 1 season or maybe 2, but it's like a musical. Anyway, he was spectacular in that, and I told him, despite the fact that almost no one saw that show, I really loved it, and he said it was the most like fulfilling, exciting creative project he had ever done in his life.
Oh,
I know, but every time I see him, I have like this special fondness for him because he
yeah.
had a stroke right after the show, and he was like really kind of down, like, you know, really in a bad way for like quite a while, like a year.
Yeah,
But he has pretty well recovered, and which I was
right.
very
Because
glad to see.
they made some psych movies after
They
that.
they did. I think the first one they sort of rode around him, and then after
Yeah,
that they were able to kind of, because he was still in recovery and all that.
right.
But yeah, not Timothy Oliphant. It's the other one,
Omenson.
Omenson, who played Lassie on Psych. Not that guy, the other guy. Not the little skinny guy. All right. You know what? Speaking of Timothy Oliphant, my very favorite show he's ever done, and he's done a lot of really good things, is Santa Clarita Diet. If you guys have not watched that,
That with
it,
Drew Barrymore, right? I have not
yes,
seen it.
so clever, so well done. Love, love, love. Avi, right? Oh my God, it was so great. It was so, like, the music was great. It was like a fun story. It was very campy. It's hilarious. Kate and Toby's neighbor. Oh, great. Yes, yes. It's only scary if you're a rotten kid. Well, that's Krampus is only scary if you're a rotten kid. I don't know. I do know one rotten kid. No, I'm kidding. He's an adult now. He's in the next room. All right. He was probably pretty sweet. Okay. Here we go, everybody. We are going to do a 20 minutes writing sprint. We're going to get some done. I'm going to head on over to Amazon and see what's going on with our Christmas romance covers. All right. Starting in 3. I should unmute. All right. How did everybody do on that last sprint? I did great. I feel like I wrote about 1,000,000 words, although it was probably
Yay.
slightly under that. Yay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
It was a good one, right? I know there's some days where I think part of it is like I haven't written for a while, and so like after you take a little break,
Yeah.
and then right, and then all of a sudden you're like,
built up.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. All right, so we have some comments. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, let me make sure I can get rid of that. All right, hold on. Can I find it? Hold on. I want to share my screen of the Christmas romance covers so we can see where we are. These are the best. This is the bestseller list. It's only the top 50 we can go look. So I see a lot of illustrated covers.
Hey.
Oh, this is funny. I interviewed Jenny last year. She's fantastic. So we got one hottie here. We got another one. No bare chest though, right? We got a little bicep there. We got a little broody here. Got some more biceps. There's a little man chest for us.
Wow.
I know. That's a lot of illustrated
That's a
covers.
lot.
Yeah. Now here's some lady legs. I think you said earlier that that's what your current thing. I don't know what we've got. That does not. I can't even tell what that is. I'm not sure if that's Christmas. Ho ho homicidal maniac. That's a different kind of book. Okay. Love. Yeah. So I see a lot more illustrated. Oh, there's some man chest for you. All right. Let's go look at like 51 through 100. We've got some more gentlemen. Oh, there's another guy under our tree. Not a lot of man chest. We got a lot of turtlenecks. Yeah. Interesting. We have a lot of jaw lines. So that's nice. Snowed in for the new year. All right. There's a little ice around the edges. Okay. So, yeah. So I would say, especially in the top 50, we definitely have a lot more illustrated than man chest. So do with that what you will.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if we got some votes here. Chris said, love Gallivant, Santa Clarita Diet. Hated they both ended too soon. That is absolutely true. Aw, thanks, Kara. We're super excited about that. You're so sweet. I feel that. Well, we'll be here for a little while longer. Dawdling Riders here. Hello. We are super glad to see you today. Very nice. Hello, Alice. We're glad you were here too. Okay, so Nicole says 2 pages of notes implemented. So excited to be working with this editor. Her ideas are stellar. Good for you. Fantastic. That's awesome. Oh, this is so funny. So Heather says, ironically, I'm working on a 2-part blog post about formatting a manuscript, one for critique purposes and one for more detailed formatting for sending out work to editors, agents, and publishers. So let's talk about this a little bit, about because it's one of the most common questions I actually get. And so I want to sort of talk things through. There's no if you accidentally pick the wrong font, unless it's Comic Sans, if you accidentally pick the wrong font, you're probably going to be okay. But typically speaking, you want a 12-point font. If you're submitting to agents, you want a 12-point font with serifs. That's the little sticky things on the end, because that makes it easier to read, with 1-inch margins all around and double space. Anything that I've met there, and there are lots of manuscript guides online. In fact, I think I feel like we talked about this before. I do have one if anybody wants it. I will be happy to drop a link after the next sprint. That's just in my Google Drive. You could just get it. So there's that. And then Michelle, anything to add to that, or Robert, anything to add to that?
You indent the first line.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about when I set it up.
Uh-huh.
Indent the first line, page numbers.
Yes, indent the first line for sure, because again, you really want to give a lot of space to that page, and the reason
Yeah.
for that is that your editor is reading a lot of books, so anything you can do to make it a little easier on their peepers is a good plan. So indent every paragraph and
Page
and
numbers.
and page numbers.
Double spaced is a big one. Don't leave a space between every paragraph. I've seen a lot of people do that. Also remember that your first page starts like a third to one half of the way down. So you really need to think about what you're
Yeah.
putting into that first page and keep it concise.
Yeah.
When it's
And-
single space and it's big blocks of type, it's like, no.
I also just have to call this out. So many writers, when they see that an agent or an editor or whatever is like maximum X number of pages, they think they're being sneaky by doing single or 1.5. Like, we notice that.
We
notice
do.
4 words in, and it's rude.
Right.
Double
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, double space. And so another thing to know when you are submitting is that if you have your dream agents that you're submitting to, you want to go on their website and see what they want, because most agencies will tell you what their formatting requirements are, and you should do exactly as they tell you. It takes an extra 3 minutes to reformat to their preferred font or their preferred font size, or add an extra quarter inch. Like, none of that really takes very much time, but it shows them that you respect their process, that you can follow directions, and that you actually care, and that you're not just sending out the same manuscript.
Yeah.
I will say, so as you guys know, I work with a lot of indie authors, and one of the things that was really challenging for me to get used to, and Robert, I want to know if you have the same thing, because I know you work with a lot of indie authors, is that they don't do double spacing because they just write single space, and it's easier when you're going to put your work into like Atticus or Vellum for the formatting to not get wonky. So they're sort of writing, not worrying about that kind of formatting with that in mind. For me, I need that double space to kind of think. But I do notice that a lot of my indie authors do that. And that's fine. If you're an indie author and you don't have any intention of sending it out to agents or whatever, then you should definitely.
Yeah, they mostly do that. Another common thing that I see, especially if you're going to go the traditional route, don't put your title in some fancy typeface or make things bold and things like that stand out. That's the formatter's job. And you don't want to have your formatting messed up, because that's the first hurdle to get past an agent. And if it's your dream agent, they're going to say no. Just looking at your pages, that's a jumble of single space and bold type here, and it looks like you didn't look at the first thing in terms of formatting.
Yeah. You honestly, just H1 is fine for your title. You do want it bigger than the rest, especially if you've got like a subtitle. But yeah, H1 is fine for your title. You don't need to do anything special or have a custom font used or anything like that. I will say, years ago, when we were submitting, a writing partner and I were submitting a book that ultimately I ghost wrote, which was a novel about Audrey Hepburn, or sort of had an Audrey Hepburn kind of theme to it. And one of the things that I did was, when we submitted the book to our agent, I had used Gaudi, which is a very sort of elegant, old school Tiffany typeface, because it sort of fits. Like, it's a classic typeface. It has serifs, but it added like that extra little layer of elegance. And it wasn't anything that, like, it didn't break the rules, but it just made it kind of more of an Audrey proposal. But that's about as far as I would go. And again, I didn't do, like, the paper wasn't blue. I didn't like, that kind of thing. I just used a typeface that was sort of associated with this, very famous film and actress. So, all right, cool. Who wants to do some more writing sprints?
I do. There's one thing that I have here from the last time we talked about formatting that I dug out. This was actually one of the first books that I bought, because format used to be such a big thing back in the day, and it's still in print. and this is like a format to almost everything you could possibly want.
I love that.
That's
All right, hold on to Robert for bringing out the old school. Here, I'll make sure. For bringing out the old school book. There you go. Love it.
It's a school that never really goes away, and I think indie authors especially really need to grab a copy of that because it's a quick reference guide. Everything shows you exactly how it's formatted, tells you how many lines to skip, what the typeface is. I mean, it's pretty easy to look at.
Kind of book you're going to have to get like on eBay, though. I think is
this it's still in print. I think it's on Amazon.
That's amazing.
Years later I looked it up and it's still around.
That's fantastic. I will say, like, one of my favorite writing books ever is called The Copy Workshop Workbook, which I literally got in college in an advertising class, and it has remained my favorite book. The thing is like 1,000 years old, and I don't think you could buy it anymore, but I did find a PDF online. I still have my copy, which in its place of honor somewhere up there on my writing shelf, all ratty and dog-eared and covered in sticky notes. So from back in the day, great book though. All right. Okay. When we come back, before we go, drop in the chat your very favorite writing book of all time. And when we come back, we will have some more chit chat about all of that. All right, let's go. One more sprint. Here we go. Got 20 minutes up on the clock. Starting in 3, 1. Let's make some magic happen. All right, everybody. So what do we have? Oh, we're just like a little bit short, so there's no way we can squeeze in one more, but let me get rid of all these banners and all this stuff. So the question that we had posed was, what is your favorite all-time writing book? Favorite all-time writing book. Write it in the chat, you guys, if you haven't already. Or if you can't choose, you could do two. I'll let you do two. If it's too hard to pick this one.
It's
Give me-
so it's circumstantial. Like writing book for what?
For whatever, just like your house is on fire, your van is on fire, you can only take one writing book with you. Which one do you take?
Robert, you go first.
Well, I would probably have to bring Stein on writing just for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
some good solutions in there for people just starting out that was kind of a big one for me on several levels.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great one. That's a really great one. All right. So Robert says Stein on writing. Very, very nice. I really like that. I have to say, oh, I love that. Okay. So, Kara says 233 words that last sprint. I bought Atticus last month, but haven't used it yet. I love Atticus. It makes everything so easy. It is a really fantastic.
What does it do?
It formats a book for you. Just dump a manuscript in there. You can pick your, like you can either kind of create your own sort of formatting with little, elemental breaks and things like that. Or you can
Amazing.
use one of their many templates, or, change things around and kind of do a little of this and a little of that. But it just makes it super easy. It's the Kindlepreneur guy, Dave Chesson. It's his program. He's the same guy who did Publisher Rocket. So if you're familiar with that, it's really a fantastic tool. Love him. I've been using Publisher Rocket for, I don't know, like 15 years. I was an early adopter. He just keeps making it better. You never have to pay again. He just keeps updating it. It just gets better and better. It's phenomenal. All right. Stein on writing. That's where it's under my name, but it's Robert's favorite. Mine has to be, and it's sort of a writing book, but it's definitely my favorite. It's Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, which is the grammar and punctuation book by, I think her name is Lynn Truss. It comes with little punctuation stickers in the back. If you are the kind of person that can't stand it when an apostrophe is missing, there are some stickers for you. I love that. Love that. Ooh, Snowflake Method. Yep, that's
a good one.
Yeah. Ooh, also the Emotional Thesaurus. I love that. That is a great one. Let's see. Who else? Anybody else?
If I had a second
I would go
choice.
with go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I would go with On Writing by Stephen King, because it was one of the first ones I read. I've reread it. It always hits the spot,
It does. And you know what? There's something about that book where you find something different every time you write it. That is the book that got me like super comfy with the idea of writing romance, because Stephen King was like, yep, I like horror. That's the kind of book I love to read. This is the kind of book I love to write. And I don't care if you guys think it's trash. This is what I love. And I felt like, yeah, me too, buddy. So yeah, I feel that. What are you going to say?
It's really encouraging. But yeah, if I had a second choice, it would be Story Engineering by Larry Brooks, because after my accident, that was a big thing too. Larry is kind of a wizard of conventional structure. And when I was trying to put the pieces of my life back together, he really helped. He sent me like a copy of his second book before it was even in print, and he gave me all this different advice on structure. So Larry's a good guy. So I would wholeheartedly recommend his book.
Oh, that is fantastic. I absolutely love that. And it's just a great book. story engineering is fantastic. I love the cover.
Yeah.
It's got like this brain, and it's
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
also
cool.
it's also up on the shelf. I could take like the massive. This is the thing, like the Horror Geek and I, between the two of us, I'm pretty sure we have every writing book ever written.
I'm sure.
Let's see. Heather says there's so many reasons why Times New Roman is the gold standard as far as manuscript formatting. So many reasons why, but serif fonts are easiest on the eyes and show more errors. That is the absolute truth. Which is funny because we've really gotten away with that. Like in email, we typically read like Arial or other non-serif, sans serif.
Mm.
Heather also loves Eat Shoots and Leaves. I'm on like my second or third copy just because I always end up like giving the stickers to like people I love. So anyway, just for fun, not for torture or anything. I love that. All right, if you guys have not already dropped another your favorite writing book in the chat, be sure to go ahead and do that. But I do love the Emotional Thesaurus. I think that is
Mhm.
um,
That's good.
yeah, that's a really, really, really good one. And I know a lot of people, I have the Snowflake Method, and I feel like I have not um I have not read it. But I do own it somewhere. And the only reason I bought it was because it feels like a lot of people on YouTube have been talking about it. And I think that's pretty cool.
It's a very
So
good one.
yeah. Oh, Maz says I prefer Garamond, Arial, and fonts like that hurt my eyes. I'm with you
Mm.
right there. Garamond is another like beautiful font.
Yes.
So I will say I am kind of a font nerd, because when I first started my career in advertising, I worked with like a mechanical artist who who just loved typefaces. Like he just loved typefaces. And there was something about being around anytime you're around someone who's like really passionate about something, either you sort of like kind of come to understand why they're passionate, or you go like, oh my God, if I have to hear another story about this, I'm going to die. And I will say I did develop like, because he loved fonts so much and I'd never really thought about it before, I do have a lot of it. So Mike brings up an excellent point. Comic Sans is great for finding errors and reading. It helps with dyslexia as well. It really is one of the best fonts for folks with dyslexia.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Also, I think I did a video about this a while back, and if I haven't, I certainly thought about it. But if you are trying to sprint, there is some evidence that using Comic Sans makes you write faster.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
I know. So I don't know if it's just because like a lot of people, I personally am not a fan. Although it does remind me of like my old lady relatives, because that's what they use when they
Yes.
write. So I do some fondness there. But yeah, I don't know if your brain's like trying to get away from it or what the deal is. But yeah. So Mike says I use it all the time now. Yeah, that's it. I don't send anything out with that, but I have definitely used it to sprint. And if I do have one client in particular who has pretty severe dyslexia, and so I always try to send him Comic Sans and do some spacing and things like that. It's really funny too, because I would think that because a serif helps everybody else read, I would think that Comic Sans like feels like such the opposite, but I think it's because like the letters are thicker, and I'm not sure.
Mhm. At the risk of dating myself, when I first started out, they only said you were allowed to use two basic type fonts, and that was Courier New, because they said that looked like an old typewriter, and that's what most agents and editors were used to. And the second one would be Times Roman. But there was a trick there. If you had a manuscript that ran long, Times Roman was better because you could fit more words on a page, and it didn't look like it was as lengthy.
Right.
So that's a little trick.
Yeah, and the other thing is that they're so used to seeing Times New Roman or Times Roman that it doesn't register like it does with some other super skinny fonts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was one I used to use in college that was it was a serif font. It looked like Times New Roman, but it had just a little tinier kerning, which is another word for letter spacing. And so the kerning was tighter on it, so you could cram in more words if you needed to. I tend to be, I'm a little talky. So, so sometimes the only solution is a squishy font. That's all I have to say. Very nice. Very nice. Here, good question, Chris. Does it matter if it's an ebook or physical book, what font you use or what font don't you use? So with ebooks, the EPUB format, which is how you format that book, it doesn't really matter because it sort of grinds it into this EPUB format, and then people can change the font on their reader. Like I could choose from a whole wide variety of preferred fonts on my Kindle, so you don't have to worry about for that. And then for a physical book, yes, it does matter, but most of the formatting tools that are available, you want something that's really readable. I had someone pitch me a book a while back that was written in different colors, and it had all these different fonts and different sections, and they were trying to use that as a way to sort of differentiate characters. And I just said, look, there's no publisher that's going to print this in purple fonts. And it just looked like a mess. And so it was really hard to follow. You couldn't remember who the purple person was. So it was like this, it was really challenging. And so that part does matter, right? You're a book formatter, it's going to matter. But if you use like Atticus or Vella, is it Vellum or Vella? Vellum. There are, choices that you have. So you want to sort of stick to the basics with that. Ooh, Here's a good one. Heather says, my current favorite writing book is The Heroine's Journey by Gail Carriger. That's a great title. I'll have to write that one down and take a peek, because I never met a writing book I didn't love.
Yeah, seriously. And I don't have that one either.
No, check it out.
It's interesting. I love that, sort of the idea. Ooh, this is good too. Oh, intuitive editing is a good one. Save the Cat and intuitive editing. I feel like everybody has Save the Cat on their somewhere on their bookshelf. I want to write down intuitive editing. That's another good one. There is another editing book that I always liked, although I wouldn't put it in my favorite writing books. And that is self-editing for fiction writers, which is sort of like one of those staple books that I think a lot of writers have in their little writer library. The other one, okay, let me say this. I did not mention this. I don't know if I would call it my favorite book, but it was a writing book that sort of unlocked things for me. I don't know if you guys know the story, how I initially got published with my first book. My first novel. My first book was the dating advice book. It sold really well. I was having lunch with my editor, and I'd had this idea for a novel. I tell her about it. She's all excited. I fly out to New York to sell it to her, and I'd sold the book on 9 chapters and a synopsis. But here's the rub. I had never written a novel before. I was not a writer that had 9 unfinished manuscripts or finished manuscripts in the desk drawer. I had never written it. It did not even occur to me that I did not know how. I just thought, oh yeah, I read all the time. Of course I could do this. And so I'd sold this book, and they, sent me the check that I didn't want to give back. And I was freaking out because and I'm reading all these kind of novel writing for dummies books, and all these different books, every book I can find on how to do this. And finally I read Janet Ivanovich's book. I think it's called How I Write. And she storyboards, which is what I had done when I was working in advertising and in television. And that was the magical thing that unlocked everything for me. So Janet Ivanovich, How I Write. That's a good one too.
He's great.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Ooh, here we go. Currently reading Writing Short Romance for Profit by Sadie King. Just started. We'll give an update next week. Excellent. We would love that. All right, everybody, it is 1 p.m. and time for us to go. And if you're heading over to another writing sprint today, thank you very much for being here. Before we leave, let's quickly do our little outros. I'm going to start with you, Robert. Do we even do intros today? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
I think we just,
That's
run,
okay. I
just
think everybody
ran right
knows us.
into it. Yeah, I know, right? It's mostly folks who know us. Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
Well, my channel is Robert Jones, the Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and put them under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to make the viewer's journey easier. There's a lot of videos over there, and most of them I think are pretty timeless subjects, even though I haven't added to the list in a little bit. But I will by spring.
Yay! We got a plan. Michelle, thank you so much for being here as always. Robert, Michelle, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I'm a middle grade young adult author and hopefully soon adult mystery author. And my channel is on hiatus, but you can watch my backlist of videos, which are writing workshops, traditional publishing chat, and writing vlogs.
Thank you very much for being here as always. I'm Lisa Daly. I write, I'm a hybrid author, so both traditionally and indie published, and I write contemporary romance, rom-coms, and nonfiction advice. If you want to write a book you're super proud of and get it published, this is a great channel to start on. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being with us here today. You are awesome. Look at that. Nicole finished up chapter 1 editor notes. Yes, time for a nap. Yes, I told you guys I love Mexican food, and it's like Lisa.
Yes, I know. I'm so ready for lunch.
I know, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here.
Take care, everybody. Keep those keyboards clacking until we meet.